Welcome to Angela Wayne Show, episode 3. Today we have our special guest, George, who has been very successful in wholesaling business, and he's going to drop gold into our today's show. This show going to be 1 hour long and going to be streamed on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So make sure you put a comment to say hello to your to network and put any of your questions on the comment, and we'll pull some questions onto the stage to answer. So good afternoon, George. How are
Good
you?
afternoon. Good. Thank you for having me. It's
Yeah.
exciting.
So we recently did a transaction,
Yep.
and then you post it. It's going to went viral, and you get a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So I figure probably the best way is to answer all the questions on this live, so that people can ask all the questions you want.
Awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did a deal, a wholesale deal that I found. Angela here was the buyer, and then I went and posted it on a couple of Facebook groups, and my phone was inundated with questions, with people wanting to work with us, with people wanting mentorships, with people wanting training and questions. And so Angela and I got together, and here we are to hopefully answer a lot of these questions that a lot of people have, and see what we can bring.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, would you like to start out with, people? I know you pretty well, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of people want to know your background. So how are you being in the wholesaling business?
Oof. So that's a loaded question. So it depends on how far you want to go back. I've actually been in and around construction since I was a kid, probably 6, 7 years old.
Uh-huh.
My dad was an electrician, and he would take me onto job sites when I was on vacation,
That's
like
the
summer
best-
break.
Best education.
Best education ever. So my dad would take me onto job sites. I fell in love with the work. Then he would also bring blueprints with him home, and I would see the blueprints. I've always been super creative, so I saw the blueprints. And I was like, "Hey, what is that? Who does that?"
Uh-huh.
And so I said, "I want to do that when I grow up," and I did. I actually have a background. I went to school for architecture.
Uh-huh.
Graduated as an architect. Did that for a couple of years, but I graduated right 2008, 2009 when the market crashed.
Uh-huh.
So I was lucky to have a job. It just wasn't doing the kind of work that I wanted to do. And then I said, you know what, I need a break from this. This isn't really what I want to be doing. We were doing a lot of institutional work, schools, medical offices, stuff like that. And then one of my friends was working at a car dealership, and he said, hey, they're hiring for sales. They pay well. Car dealers, car salespeople make a lot of money. I said, all right, I'll try it. And then I was there for 11 years.
Wow, 11 years. That's a very good education to
Yes.
to be able to talk to seller.
So yes, that's exactly it. For 11 years, I mastered. I really honed in on my communication skills, my sales skills, and then after 11 years, I was let go from that job, and then I started my own car dealer brokerage.
Oh, I didn't know
So,
that. You
yep.
have your own business.
I
on
have
the
my
car
own business as far as cars are concerned. And then COVID hit, and then we were all home, and no one was buying cars, no one was selling cars. And then I remember it was sometime during the week, family, my wife, kids, my son, and my daughter, my son was 9 at the time, my daughter was 3 at the time. We were at the table just like this.
Uh-huh.
And my son, we were just talking, chit chat, small talk. And then he's like, hey, Dad, so if you could do anything for work, like your dream job, what would you be doing?
Your son asked you
My
that
son
question?
asked me that. He was 9 years
Wow.
old at the time, right? I was like, well, I would actually be buying, designing, and flipping houses. And then he says, so why aren't you doing it?
Wow. Smart kid.
And I got chills. And I didn't have an answer for him, right? So I said, that's a very good question.
Wow.
And I don't have an answer. And I knew that at that point that was what I needed to do from that point forward. So actually that night, I think I bought Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book, to start to learn about real estate and investing. And then shortly after that, I ended up watching one of Pace Morby's whiteboard, the famous whiteboard video on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
That blew my mind. And so then I joined the Sub 2 mentorship in September of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing some like cold calling here and there, trying to get my feet wet in wholesaling. And then a friend of mine asked me to help him build his construction business.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for a year. I built up the company, gave it back to him, and now he's running it. But then I left because I was like, okay, now I need to continue doing my thing. And then 2022 was essentially my first full-time year in real estate. We did flips, wholesale, Airbnb, and now here we are. So
wow,
that's a very long story, but that's how I got to wholesaling. So wholesaling, I'm not just a straight wholesaler. I'm a real estate investor. Wholesaling is just one of the exit strategies that we use on some of the deals.
But I can say your 11 years in the car dealership, that really hone your communication skill.
Yes.
You have a construction and the architect background, so you know how to look at just by looking at the pictures, look at the structure, you know what's the estimated rehab will be.
Yep.
And you did all these other exit strategies, so you know what are the buyer looking for, what are the exit strategies. So that really help you to be able to structure these wholesaling deals that are appealing to the sellers and the buyers.
Right. Yeah, that's been very helpful. I think, out of all my experience, the most crucial experience I would say is the sales part. And it's not so much like to learn how to close a deal. That's not it. It's really to learn how to communicate with sellers on one hand, how to communicate with buyers on the other. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So now, do you still work on the wholesale on your own, or do you have a team to work together?
No, we it's a very small team. I have David. So I'm the visionary, like 120% visionary. I can't sit still for too long. But I have David on my team, who I also met in Sub 2. He's my integrator on the wholesale side of things, and then we have Mia. Mia is our virtual assistant, and she's been with us, I think, for about a year and a half now. She's a virtual assistant that we also promoted to lead manager. She was actually the one that found this deal for us.
Oh, wow.
So, by the way, I've never met either one in person anywhere. Almost 2 years, and it's a beautiful thing.
So I can see your system actually can some other people who want to be in the business actually can copy, because you have a smaller operation. It's much more manageable.
Yeah, I'm an open book. People can call me, text me. Maybe we'll put my number, or maybe not, my phone number at the end. But I'm always an open book. People can call me. I'm always willing to collaborate, to help you with any questions anyone has. Yeah.
So how people find you before, I think people are now very eager to how to get a hold of you.
So you can find me on Instagram. It's at George, GEORGE _Domus, DOMUS. And then, or my cell phone number is 323-420-4861. I'm in LA, so I'm on Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, and we will repeat several times, so make sure you get down the information.
Yeah.
So back to this deal.
Yeah.
Because I'm the buyer. I'm so excited about this deal.
Yes.
There's so much profit to be made. And for you, you also made a good profit. And you make the sellers so happy. And they really want to continue working with you. So tell us about how you find this deal.
So this deal, like I said, Mia on our team found it. We were, at the time, we were marketing to distressed, tired landlords, high equity, right? So that was the list that we were working at the time. Phone call, cold call, and then the seller ended up raising their hand. She wasn't ready to sell at the time, but we have a nurture, what we call a nurture campaign. So it's kind of like a drip campaign. We'll call maybe once every few weeks or once a month, depending on the situation. And that we did that for a couple of months, and then ended up speaking to her sister, who was an agent. She ended up putting it on the market. It didn't sell. It didn't move. There was a tenant in there that wasn't paying rent for the entire COVID, so like a year and a half. So no one was able to see it. And then one day, I'm a part of a bunch of wholesale groups.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I see the property on a Facebook group, and I call the realtor, which is the seller's sister, and I say, "Hey, did you guys sell the property?" And she's like, "Yeah, we have an offer." I was like, "Okay, is it like an end buyer? Is it a wholesaler?" Oh, it's an investor. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I said, her name was Betty. I said, "Betty, look, this is what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
In a couple days, they're gonna cancel,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, they're offering you too high of a price, right?" I knew it was a wholesaler because it was in a wholesale group.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "This is what's gonna happen. I would love to talk to you
Mm-hmm.
when that happens, right after that, or I'll just touch base with you after."
So, in other words, during your process of nurturing relationship, you actually educate them
Yes.
to bring them to the
Yeah,
reality
yeah.
here.
Because I like to treat sellers
Mm-hmm.
and agents like I'm on their team,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're all trying to achieve something. They
Mm-hmm.
want a certain price, we want a property.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to educate um, sellers and agents, and
Mm-hmm.
even wholesalers,
Right. Yeah.
so that we're all kind of on the same page, and they feel like I'm on their team and not essentially on the opposite team.
Right. Yeah.
So I told her this. I checked in the following week, and sure enough, she was actually very mad at me. She she didn't cuss at me, but she yelled at me over the phone, and she's like, "How the heck did you know that this was gonna happen? I don't know what kind of game you guys are playing." She's like, "This is exactly what you said was gonna happen." He's like, "I don't know what kind of games you guys are playing. You're just trying to get the property at a lower price." I was like, "No, no, 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 no. I told you this was gonna happen because this is the game that people play." So anyway, we kept on communicating back and forth, me and her. Right, she was not at the wholesaler, and this happened for 11 months.
Wow, 11 months.
11 whole months, and then we kept on going back and forth. They were trying to evict the tenant. They finally got an eviction notice, but then they were still not leaving. Had to get the sheriff involved. And then finally, one day, I get a call from Betty, the realtor, and she's like, "Hey, we finally got the tenant out. Are you still interested?"
Wow.
And I said, "Yes." And then that same day, we met at the property. We walked the property, and then that was it. That 11 months, and we got that deal.
So people who are watching the Zoom, watching the this live right now. So I know wholesaling is a very tedious, long time. It's required a lot of patience. So now here's a live real story. 11 months of nurturing the relationship. If you keep pushing, then you will get the deal.
Yeah, you have to be consistent. There's been that I hear a lot of stories of people that are like, "Well, the business is hard, and I'm not making any money," and after like 3 months, they drop out.
Yeah.
So imagine if I would have left. Even at 6 months, if I drop out, I would have probably never been able to close this deal.
Right.
So stay persistent, consistent, be disciplined, hang in there. It's a hard business, but so is everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you negotiate with the seller then?
So this there's a couple of different ways you can negotiate, but with this one specifically, I knew the story. Right? I knew the pain that they had gone through. I knew the price that they had offered online, or sorry, on the MLS that they didn't get. I had a price that I had offered them before, but the day that we met at the property, I didn't give her a price. Right? I let her tell me again. I asked her questions about, the tenant, about the seller. She was in the seller. Her sister was in need of medical attention. So things happen in people's lives.
Find the money, like
Yep.
said.
Yep. You find the pain. And then I said, "Are you talking to any other wholesalers or any other investors?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm actually the guy that made the offer first is gonna come see it." I met her on a Monday. She's like, "He's gonna come see it on a Saturday." I said, "Okay, so how do we close this today so that he doesn't come and see it?" I said that. I said, "What are you hoping to accomplish?" And she said, "Well, my sister essentially just wants to clear 400 net, right, in her pocket. She has medical expenses. She's over it. And I said, okay, I'll go back to my office. I'll do some underwriting. I already knew that it was a deal, but I still just told her that I was going to go back to my office. By the way, when it was listed, I think it was listed at 585. So they brought themselves down the entire way.
Yeah.
I didn't essentially have to do much. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wouldn't have done all the work for the 11 months, right? So went back to the office, wrote up the contract, sent it to her, and we ended up being at 425 as the purchase price from the seller. So a little bit over 400. And then everyone was happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, continue on. You mentioned about the underwriting. So in today's market, especially people on the live right now, people are always concerned about how to underwrite the property in today's market. So we can still make a deal. Everybody can still make some money. So how back then, how did you write the underwriting? It was really the changing of the market.
Yeah. So it's so I look at. I'm also a realtor, by the way. So I know how to comp, right? I learned how to comp. I learned how to underwrite. I learned all these things in the sub 2 community. So I guess you can say I have an advantage because I learned all these things. But because I'm a realtor, I have access to MLS. But even Zillow, you can look at comps, right? So you look at what it could potentially sell for. That's the ARV. So I looked at that, compared that to what we bought it at. And then because I have a construction and architecture and design background and we do flips ourselves, I have a very good understanding of how much it's going to take to fix the house or to repair it. And then that's essentially it. I knew it was a good deal. I mean, at the 425, I think we were at like 60% of ARV, which in LA, even up until like 70, 75, people are still paying.
Right. Yeah.
So I knew that it was a good deal. A lot of it also comes from knowing what buyers are currently paying, but we can get into that.
Yeah, I think the background you have
Yeah.
about the construction, how to look rehab really helped with the underwriting.
Yeah,
here.
for sure.
Yeah. Then how did you find the buyer then? Because that's the one piece of the puzzle for this business is find the deal. The next piece is find the buyer.
Yep.
So how did you find buyer then?
So, well, you are my buyer.
I'm the buyer. But how did you find buyer?
You are from sub 2.
Yes.
Right? So you and I had never met.
Yeah.
We knew that we were in sub 2, obviously. We've seen maybe each other on Zooms with Pace. But then I started a door knocking team, I think in February. And then you messaged me one day, said, hey, I want to come door knocking.
Yeah.
And then we went door knocking together. And then just during conversation, you said, hey, I want to buy. I'm looking for flips. And that's how I found you.
Yeah.
So that's you and I. That's our story.
Right. Yeah.
But if we want to, for everyone else, that's saying, well, where do I find the buyers? The common or the recurring theme in this whole business is community and networking. And so if I wasn't a part of this community, the sub 2 community, I would have never found you, right? Obviously there's other buyers in other communities or no communities, but just in LA or in the area. And there are a number of different ways that you can find buyers. Networking is a great one. You can look at on the MLS. You can look at properties that have recently sold. You can kind of reverse engineer and find the company or the flipper that sold that property. You can reach out to their agents that represented them. You can social media. Social media is huge, right? If you just start to follow pages of real estate investors and flippers, eventually you're going to end up following and talking to buyers. And then you pick up the phone or text them or DM them and say, hey, are you a buyer? Yes. What are you looking for? Are you looking for flips? Are you looking for buy and holds? So everything. You can find everything by communicating, networking, and building relationships.
Yeah, I would say how to find it is pretty straightforward. To meet people, find their needs. I think the consistency, putting the time, putting hour to be able to connect and seal the deal, that's actually the key here.
Yeah. And so, along those lines of like networking, I would say, we the Sub2 community does a lot of networking events.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people that essentially just go to the networking events just to listen to the speaker and then they go home.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing yourself a disservice if you're doing that.
Right.
The most important thing is the network and the group of people that are there and figuring out how you can bring value to them and how they can bring value to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 So you got it for 425, and I got it from you for 485.
Yep.
So I got a lot of response. People say, they ask me, whether I'm comfortable to pay the 60,000 assignment fee. I said I cannot even be happier to pay that because there's no way I can get such a great deal without George putting at least 11 months of effort.
Yep.
So can you tell us how do you structure the assignment fee? How do you make sure the sellers and the buyers, everybody's happy?
Yep. So again, everything comes because of my experience, right? So people are going to ask, and I've already been asked this question is, so how do I figure out the assignment, or how do I figure out how to price it? The short answer is you call me and I help you out. The long answer is you either get the experience, you learn the experience, or you find someone that can underwrite it for you. You find someone that can comp it for you. You find, again, the recurring theme is community, right? But I'm always available to help. I would love to help. But also on the wholesale side, people that are looking to get deals, I think a lot of people overthink it, right? So I got the contract at 425, but I didn't come to you and say, hey, and you didn't ask me, well, how much did you buy it for? Or how much is your contract for, right?
Yeah.
You just like I did my underwriting, you also have your parameters and you did your own underwriting.
Right.
And so essentially, I marketed the contract at 495, given the numbers and the underwriting that I did. And then, no, 485.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you came back and you did your underwriting and you said, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But we never talked about an assignment fee.
Yeah.
You didn't see the assignment fee until you were signing docs,
Yeah.
closing docs.
Yeah. And for me, I didn't care. I got a great deal. Yeah.
So for anyone that's wholesaling or starting to wholesale, you're not going to get the contract and then go tell the whole world what your assignment fee is. That's not how it works. You're just going to get it and then you're going to market it at a certain price, and that's your wholesale fee. And a legit buyer is not going to care if you're making $10,000 or $100,000 because, again, just like Angela did, she has her own set of underwriting parameters. And if the numbers fit those parameters, she doesn't care. She's happy. As far as the seller goes, this is where having the right escrow company in your corner comes in. So I use Prominent Escrow here in Los Angeles. They do almost 100%, not 100%, but a lot of wholesale transactions. So they're familiar with everything that goes into wholesaling transactions. They have one statement for the seller. They have one statement for the buyer. So essentially the seller never really sees what the assignment fee looks like. So I got a ton of questions that said, well, was your seller okay with the assignment fee? The seller never actually knew what the assignment fee was. So the seller was happy, Angela was happy, I was happy, and here we are.
Plus, the seller was willing to give you for 400. You have to give them a little bit more. So on the seller side, the seller didn't care. So the key thing here is find the money, what each party you're looking for. The seller want to get rid of the property. As an end buyer, as long as I can make a certain profit from whatever the exit strategy I choose, everybody then have a win.
Yep.
So now I'm sure now you get your phone rings up, you get so many
emails.
It's
been ringing. I made that post on Friday. Saturday, Sunday, I was on my phone almost 18 hours each day. I still have not caught up with messages and phone calls and text messages, and I keep telling everyone, I promise I'm not ignoring you. I will get back to you, and I will. But thank you for everyone that has shown interest in wanting to work and JV with us for sure.
So one of the things that people always say, okay, you are based in Los Angeles. Now you are happy to help, but they're everywhere. So how do you do wholesale to help to do wholesale like out of the state, out of where you live?
Okay. So that's a great question. So wholesaling in general is essentially the concept is all the same, right? You go find a distressed property or a distressed homeowner, you get it at a certain price, and then you wholesale that contract or you sell that contract to an end buyer, right? That concept is the same all over. So the only things that are essentially going to change are price points because every market is going to be different. Yes, we mainly operate here in LA and SoCal, but we have also done, like last year, we were doing a lot in Tennessee, a lot in Florida.
So how about what's the practice over there like?
So
From coast to coast.
Yep. So again, recurring theme is community. I don't know anyone in Tennessee. I don't know anyone in Florida, but I do know a lot of people in Sub 2. And Sub 2 is a community of people that's all over the country. So I can literally just go post and say, hey guys, I have a deal under contract in Tennessee, in Memphis. Who can go take pictures for me? I found one, Abel actually. I don't know if he's watching, but thank you, Abel. He was amazing. He was a great help. He would go out to the properties, take pictures, right? He would tell me what was going on with the property, if anything. And then I say, hey, Abel, you're very active in Memphis. What title company can I use? What investor-friendly title company and escrow company can I use? 5 minutes later, he texts me the information for the title company. So now I got boots on the ground, Abel. Now I have a title company. And then, hey, Abel, by the way, do you have any buyers in Memphis? Oh, yeah. Let me shoot the deal out to such and such. And all of a sudden, I did a deal in Memphis from the comfort of my own home in Los Angeles, where all I had to do was put a post in the community group, found boots on the ground, found title company, found a buyer. So it's actually a very simple process. But again, guys, the recurring theme is community. Be a part of a community. Networking, if you like, I'm not going to go to a networking event in Memphis, but I can join a networking group, which is a Facebook group that's wholesaling in Memphis. So that's really, really the answer to everything is how do I go wholesale in Florida? The answer is exactly the same. And then you just replicate it in whichever market you want to go to, and you have a nationwide wholesaling business.
Yeah, and I guess whatever the market you are in or anybody in, there are two things that you cannot replaceable. It's like communication skill and having the construction experience, and you have those. So any market for you, it's just replication.
Yeah, it's just you replicate. You take advantage of the skills that you do have to go do whatever you can do. Whatever you don't have skills for or experience in, then that's where you bring in someone else, right? So it's the who, not the how. Yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah, I've seen talking about the flipping. So I've seen the flip project you've done. Amazing. So now, how do you decide what deals you are going to wholesale and what deals you're going to flip for yourself?
That's an amazing question. So last year we were big on flips. That is like my passion. If I did nothing else and just did flips forever, I would die a very happy man. But I see the writing on the wall. Interest rates have skyrocketed. The pool of buyers has diminished quite a bit. And yes, we do flips, but also we buy all of our flips with hard money, right? So hard money is you go to an institution, you get a loan, it's an interest-only loan. And so just like interest rates or mortgage rates went up, hard money rates go up as well. And so essentially, we've taken a step back from doing flips because the carrying costs would be a little too expensive for my taste. So I'm assessing the risk, right? But if we find a 50 cents on the dollar deal, I'll decide to keep it. Anything that doesn't necessarily fit my criteria, but I know would fit the criteria of maybe someone like Angela, which is buys all cash, then of course I would wholesale that to you. Yeah.
So for this deal, I bought it with my own bought with cash, and then the fund actually came partially from my own fund and partially from the investor who want to invest. I have a trust account, and then I have investor. They want to put their money and invest into my project. So, what's your experience about working with people? Do you prefer like really cash buyer who just using their own fund, or do you prefer to work with people like a traditional, like the hard money loan? What's the difference?
So really, it depends, right? And it's like, for example, you and I on this deal, we had an amazing 14-day escrow, super fast. The escrow period that I had with the seller was 21 days, right? So a lot of times when you're using hard money, a lot of the lenders require like a 21 to 30-day escrow because they need to do their own due diligence. They need to get inspections, appraisals, just make sure that it's a deal, right? Everyone does underwriting, right? You as a buyer, me as a wholesaler, the lender as the lender. They have their own sets of underwriting. So in order for them to lend, a lot of times the hard money process will take longer than a wholesaler would like. Or it would take longer than the contract would allow for. So if I had like a 45-day contract, I could have gone with a buyer that uses hard money because I understand that it's a longer process. In this case, we had actually higher offers, but they were using hard money. And so just like in retail real estate, right, where not necessarily the highest price is the best offer for the specific situation. It's the same thing with wholesaling. Not just because I had a higher price, that doesn't necessarily mean that that was the best offer for us to close on time for everyone.
So this is very piece of information. So the highest offer doesn't really mean give you the best result, because there's also other factors: the time,
where the money's coming from, the experience of that person that's buying. If they've never bought a property, cash or hard money, you might have a lot of delays because they need to get their ducks in a row to be able to get hard money. If they've never flipped anything, they might be underwriting wrong, and then they might end up canceling on you later on. Angela's very experienced. She's done flips before. It was all cash, so it was kind of an easy decision for us to make.
Yeah. So this is really one of the most smooth transactions.
Yeah. So Angela said, "I want to buy it from you, and I want to be the easiest buyer you've ever had." And she did not fail me. So thank you.
So, but this normally doesn't happen quite often. So a lot of people come here, wholesaler, they concerned. So if you have a contract and your time is running out and you still struggle with finding the buyer, so how would you adjust your selling price?
So that really depends on every single deal, right? So like our deal, I got it for a certain price, right? I got it for $425, right? I sent it out at $485. I didn't just send it to you, obviously. I sent it to my pool of buyers that are buying in the area and that I know are buyers for that specific type of deal. So let's just say that every single buyers will give you feedback, right? A legit, true buyer will give you feedback because they want you to keep bringing them deals, but they also want you to adjust your own underwriting as a wholesaler. So let's say everyone that came in was at like they're between 435 and 450. If there was 5 or 6 that came in at that price range, then that's essentially the selling price that I would have to adjust it to, right? Because I don't determine the value of the property. The buyer determines the value of the property
so
with their offer.
Yeah. So people who are watching this, really the buyer eventually gonna determine the value.
Yep. So to answer the question is, how would I adjust it? Well, I would really rely on the feedback that I get from my buyers.
Yeah. So would you get offended if buyer keep you ask your question? Because sometimes the wholesaler, they want to get the deal off their hand really quickly. They really don't want to have more questions. So how do you handle that?
No, I answer every single question, because just like you always have to put yourself in the shoes of everyone else, right? For example, with the seller, I want everyone that's coming to me to make me an offer, I want them to be a straight shooter, right? I don't want them to be lying to me and posting it on a Facebook group and then telling me they're going to buy it and they don't buy it. Same thing with buyers. I know that you have questions. I know that you there's things that you need to know in order. You're not buying a sweater, right? You're buying a $500,000 piece of property,
right? Yeah.
that you're hoping to make some money on. So questions are going to happen as a wholesaler. That's part of the business. Questions are going to happen. I mean, that's all that I can say. Yeah, and you have to be willing to answer them, because at the end of the day, again, you want to continue to build these relationships. Hopefully, Angela and I will go on to do 10 more deals like this.
Yeah,
but
I'm counting on that.
Angela, if you came to me with questions and I didn't want to answer, are you ever going to buy another deal for me?
No, I probably just turn around. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So
yeah, I got a lot of questions here. So let me see. Let me bring this up question here. So the question here is, let me gonna read this to you. Was the property in need of rehab? Yeah. So Julie asked me this. Yeah, it needs a rehab. And we definitely, when we did the underwriting for this rehab, we are very conservative on the number. So even though we are go over, we don't worry about it. So maybe you can also talk about when you did underwriting, how did you factor this rehab for you to be able to make that determination?
So the house was actually like a 1920 build. Obviously that's old, but it's not old for LA. Those year builds are very common. But it had been upgraded. There had been additions done to the house, and they were done very, very well, surprisingly. The exterior, it had very, very good bones, right, Angela?
Right, yeah.
The interior was essentially all cosmetic, just outdated, and had old laminate floors. Kitchen needed to be gutted, bathrooms needed to be gutted, but it was all cosmetic. So there was no structural stuff that needed to be done to it. And because it was all cosmetic, then we were able to underwrite it. And then with the current market conditions, if you need to do an addition, if you need to do any structural work, anything that would require extensive permission from the cities, that can delay your project. And in flipping, timing is like you have to be good on timing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, another question. Julie asked me great questions. Did you self-fund or borrow, or if borrowed, what source? So this one, some of the fund is coming from my own, and then a larger portion also from the people who want to invest money with my project. And the reason I put some fund into these projects is because I want my investor to understand I also have the skin in the game. I don't want to just use all their money without my money, because I want to show them, okay, I have so much confidence in this project. Even with my money in, I can still make a profit. So when you have private money lending into your project, always make sure your lender is going to be so happy with your project. They cannot wait to spend for next and the future deals. So that's very important when you structure this. So to answer your question, that's how the two sources of the fund for this one. So when you are dealing with all these other buyers, so how do they structure their funding? Do they mostly coming from hard money?
I would say, actually, most of it will be hard money. A few will do private money, but most of it will be hard money. But again, because interest rates, the market changed, right, for everyone. So hard money got expensive.
Right.
So a lot of people, including myself, that were doing a lot of flips last year, this year are kind of taking a step back because money is expensive. So how do you mitigate that, or how do you continue to do flips even in a down market like this? Is you either use your own money or you go raise private capital. So, yeah.
And for me, because I raised money for this project, and then I always make sure I always match whoever put the money in. So I make sure that I'm sincere. The building relationship, just like you build a relationship with the seller.
Right.
I build a relationship with the lender who are investing their fund. Because remember, everybody make money in put the money to the time and effort into accumulate the fund, and always make sure they're happy with the result.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a question for you here. So it says, will you get a risk?
That's David. David. So again, David is my integrator partner on the wholesale side of things. David's like my little brother. He's yes, Mia. I hope Mia's watching. We told her she could take a break and watch. Yes, Mia will get a very nice bonus this next payday for sure.
Yeah. So so here, Ben asked a question: what area SoCal are you buying in? I guess that's a question to me.
That's for you.
So,
yeah.
But I think we can both discuss this.
Yep.
So SoCal. So right now, my buying criteria is I'm looking for anything less than 1 million. That's the fastest way to when it comes to selling. That's the fastest. So SoCal is good. And then anywhere around there, Compton, Culver City, Inglewood, those that areas, there are a lot of older homes need some love, and the ARV is always amazing. So, but I pretty much look for all the SoCal except along the beach when the entry fee is way too high. So, how do you determine your market?
Same. It's we usually have like a certain price point that we don't want to go over. It's not because we can't afford it. It's just because up until this point we've been using hard money. A hard money monthly payment on a $300,000 house is going to be, I mean, last year it was like $2,000. So you take that hard money on $1 million house, and now you're at a $7,000 a month monthly payment that you have to pay every single month. So the project takes 3 to 4 months. $7,000 a month, so 7 times 4, that's $28,000 just to be able to have the house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean it's all. I would say actually also below $1 million. I like to stay local wherever, because up until this point I've been doing the work and managing and designing and everything. I'm very tactile. Like I like to see stuff close by. But Angela, you're also buying in other parts of the country, right?
Yeah, also buying pretty much all the good landlord-friendly states. So I have a very strong team in Dallas, a strong team in Atlanta, but also buying in pretty much anywhere as long as there's no snow, I will buy.
And again, guys, like it's what's the recurring theme here is relationships and community.
That's
you
right.
wouldn't be able to flip houses in Dallas. You wouldn't be able to flip houses in Atlanta if you didn't have those relationships with those people, with the builders, with the realtors, with the title companies, right?
So that's right. Actually, Julie just asked me another good question. Is it a JV deal then? So yes. So Julie, that's an awesome question. So right now, I pretty much do most of the deals JV because I travel a lot, quite a bit. So even during the during the time when we were trying to close this deal, I was actually in the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I did a JV with another subtle student locally. His name is Victor. Oh, by the way, next week, Victor and I we are going to have a meetup in this house. We are going to talk about how we did the underwriting, how we estimate the rehab, how we manage the construction to make sure it's going to be done as fast as possible. So make sure.
Yep. Yeah, we will post it on our socials.
Yeah.
Everyone's welcome to come.
Yeah, and we'll try to stream it. So, because especially on today's market, having a good estimate is really important, and having a partner to be able to really come up with different ideas, really encourage each other. So it's really, really important here.
Yep.
And because of the JV partnership, now I can do a lot of other deals. So actually, in addition to this, I have 2 more flips in the East Coast. And the reason I can manage 3 flips at the same time is because I have the JV partnership.
Yep. So Julie, just to clear it up, it's a JV deal between Angela and Victor, not between Angela and myself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So there's one question about, can you tell us more about the sub-2 community? I guess this is the person probably still thinking about joining.
Oh, so yeah, Shuta, she's one of the hundreds of people that messaged me. She sent me some deals already that we've underwritten. I've gotten on the phone with some of the sellers. And so again, guys, community. I appreciate that you said sub. Oh, it's not sub zero. It's sub two community. It stands for subject to, which is a way of acquiring a property. Um, but just to say, it's probably the best community, real estate community on the planet.
Yeah.
It's not just a real estate community. It's not a mentorship. Pace Morby is, I mean, I owe him the world. But he talks about mindset. He talks about business. He talks about real estate. He talks about, I mean, literally anything that has to do with business. He will talk about it. Can you do that next one, the Ellie?
This one?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So Ellie Koob, that's my wife.
Oh, that's your wife.
So thank you for watching. But I wouldn't be here in front of you being able to do this without her support. So I want her to know that I do appreciate every single thing that she does for us and our family.
I didn't know she was watching. Should have brought her here in the studio.
She's working. Yeah. So thank you. I love you.
So so we have all these people encouraging this. So moving on forward, how would you help? Because I know a lot of people here, especially wholesaling, is a hard business. It's a grinding, to be honest. So now, how are you gonna help the community? Because they're all over every state.
So you can only help someone from your very own experience, right? So I've been in the sub 2 community for almost 3 years now, 2.5.
Wow, that's a long time.
And I've had my ups and downs. It hasn't always been pretty. I've had times when I've wanted to quit, right? But I didn't, because I had the support of family, the support of my partners. And so, again, I can only speak from experience. If you are trying to get into wholesaling, into real estate investing, into flipping, shoot me a message, text me, we'll hop on a call. I've had so many calls and Zoom calls, really just figuring out why people want to get into the business, figuring out their personalities, figuring out where they are in their mindset, because mindset has a lot to do with it.
Oh yeah, big time.
So essentially just, being a big brother, if you will, to hear you out. And if I can give you any kind of guidance, I would love to hop on a phone or a phone call or a text message with you, and we can all figure it out together.
Yeah. So if you have helping other people, what are the typical traits you would look for in that person? Eventually, there are always people who just want to try out and fall off by itself.
That's fine. I mean, I think that's part of the business, though. Like, it's, you can get someone that is super motivated for 2 months and then they just fall off. That's part of the business. Not every single player you get is going to be an A player, right? In basketball, there's a bench, and you bring in the bench whenever you have to. So, I always give. I like to give without necessarily wanting anything in return. So if I can bring some value to you, amazing. If you bring some value back to me, also amazing. But if you don't, that's also fine.
Yeah,
I'm not expecting anything. I just want to help whoever needs help, and if you want to do the same, great.
I'm the testimony for that. Remember, you drove me a lot. By the way, I live in a kind of not far around away from the beach. So you drove me along the beach and then show me, because I really want to buy something on the beach. So thanks to George, one afternoon we drove around. George showed me this and that, as I realized, for me to invest, get out of the beach. There's no money there. So you didn't get anything. It took you a whole night.
It took us we spent a whole day out door knocking. In the South Bay, I guess. Is that right? The beach cities, Redondo Beach, PV, Palos Verdes, San Pedro. I was just happy to help. She said, I want to go door knock in these areas because I want to buy a house here, and we went. So that was it.
And at the end, you show me a number. I realized, it's not a very smart way to put money in my area. And again, I'm always happy to help. Today, we're here before the live started, but
Angela, you brought 2 or 3 deals.
Uh-huh.
We looked at them together. We underwrote them. I said, this is probably a good deal. This is probably not a good deal. I'm not getting a consulting fee. I'm just happy to help.
Yeah, you definitely help me a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Yeah. To be able to get to where we are right now, it's more than just the deal. It's actually also the relationship, the trust
Yeah.
we have built.
It's 100%.
Mhm.
You have to go for the relationship, not for the deal.
Yeah.
If you focus on the relationships, the deals will eventually come.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Julie said a party at Angela's beach house.
There you go.
So maybe that's the next assignment then.
Yeah, now we got to find a beach house for Angela.
So moving forward, now there are so many people want to help,
Yep.
want you to help out. So how much local knowledge would they need in order to have this, the underwriting done it's properly
Mhm.
towards a discussion?
Again, I don't think you need to have any general knowledge of anything. If you have it, it's a plus, obviously. But going back to what I said earlier, if you are able to put in the work and find a deal or a property in the area where you live, right? We can JV. I can help you out. We can find boots on the ground. We can find title companies. We can find buyers. We can find contractors. We can find everything. So you don't really need to have a knowledge about a specific area. Again, if you have it, great. A lot of people that are also wholesaling don't necessarily want to wholesale in their geographic areas, right? So like people in LA might be wanting to wholesale in Florida because it might be an easier market to work.
Yeah.
So as long as you put in the work to try to find the deals, I can help you with the rest.
Yeah. Just like right now, I'm also flipping 2 homes in the East Coast. I don't live there. I live in Los Angeles. But I have the GC, I have the project manager, I have the agent there overlooking the project. So I'm okay with it. I'm actually also doing virtual flipping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a question said, how do you avoid making the mistakes of the first wholesaler that locked up the contract too high on that deal you did?
So again, community. I have the experience. I am grateful that I have the experience that I have, but maybe he didn't have that experience where he doesn't know what construction costs are, right? Maybe he doesn't know how much buyers are willing to pay for the property, right? A lot of people, a lot of new wholesalers, they just want to get a contract, right? They just pitch a number that they think that the seller wants to hear, and they contract it, and then they try to go sell it. And if they can't sell it, they're either going to cancel or they're going to try to renegotiate with the seller. A lot of people do that. I don't like doing that. I'm a straight shooter. So how could he have done things differently? He could have tried to build better rapport with the seller or the agent to establish a relationship, so that he didn't have to cancel, or he could potentially have come back and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm actually not the buyer for this, right? I have partners that I will partner up with, and we will JV on this together." Another thing that he could have done is just go out to someone that, if he doesn't know how to underwrite, if he doesn't know how to comp, if he doesn't know how much it's going to take for a property for the repairs, he could have gone to other people that could have helped him put an actual good deal together that would have helped him essentially win the deal. Now, with all that said, I also want everyone to know that a lot of what happens throughout the timeline of a deal, a lot of it also has to do with timing.
Yes.
So timing. You can have the most motivated person, but if the timing doesn't necessarily fall within their timeline or your timeline or whatever else is happening in the world, he could have potentially gotten the deal, but the timing just wasn't right. So it's not just knowing people, it's not just knowing or having skills. A lot of it in wholesaling and real estate investing has a lot to do with timing.
But the thing is, for you to take advantage of timing is because you've been following up, so you know what you've been going through.
Yeah. So again, timing. If I wouldn't have spent 11 months
Yeah, it's a long
building
time.
rapport, building that relationship, even when the timing was right,
Mm-hmm.
she would have never called me back.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's a probably this is the last question. Can you share the contact for your title company here in LA? So maybe this is from Tiger. So maybe
Yeah. So that is the escrow company that I use is Prominent Escrow in Newport Beach. You can look them up. Marisol Navarro is the the lead escrow agent. They do a lot of wholesales, a lot of double closes, a lot of. They're a very very investor friendly escrow company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or how people find you? Because I know I maybe not.
Oh yeah.
everybody
So
find you.
if you need help finding buyers, contractors, title companies, other resources, please call me or text me. 323 420 4861. You
Can you
wanna?
say that again?
Yep. 323
323
420
420
4861.
4861.
Yep.
Okay, so that'll be.
That's my cell phone. Call me, text me. Actually, text me before you call me. I'm on the phone all day.
Mm-hmm.
But I will get back to you for sure.
Yeah. So actually, they
Um,
asked me, how do I prepare myself to go door? Oh, how do you prepare yourself to go in a door knock?
awesome. So it depends on what you're door knocking. This year we're focusing again because we see the writing on the wall. We see what's happening in the economy. We're focusing a lot on foreclosures.
Mm-hmm.
So our company is signed up with a data provider. We pull data directly from that data provider. We look at areas that we want to potentially buy in or invest in. We'll pull 10, 10 addresses, go door knock them. We'll pull the addresses, build the route, and then go door knocking them. We usually take 4 hours. 4 hours, we'll get 10 doors done. But again, text me. I would love to elaborate a little more on that, on the services that we use to pull the data, on what we look for as far as the data goes. So I'd love to chat with anyone.
Yeah, and again, I can back up on this. I did a door knock with you once,
Mhm.
and I saw, oh well, hard job. Thank you,
Yeah.
brother. You take care of that part. I'm done.
Yeah, it's and that's part of not only honing in on your skills, but also knowing what skills you're comfortable with, right? Not everyone is going to be comfortable with knocking on a stranger door um, and saying, "Hey, I know you have a problem," right? That you wouldn't do that.
No, and the way when watching you talking to the owner so smoothly, I
Yeah.
didn't know how to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I'm talking.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, I know that to some people it feels hard or like it's something that they can't do, but again, if you're gonna work on anything, build on your communication skills.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
have the courage, really being able to carry
Yeah.
on conversation with the owner. I was nervous. I was standing behind you.
Yeah.
I was just watching. I got nervous. And
Yeah.
you just build that
No,
report
it's just
so quickly.
it's just another day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I think that's all the questions we have gone through. So happy people, the whole community right now, to thank you for what the knowledge, the value you bring on. So hopefully, and I'm pretty sure they all want to,
Yep.
get your opinion, get your insight
Yep.
to help them with their wholesaling business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you guys, everyone who tuned in. This is it means the world to me that anyone is interested in anything I have to say. So call me or text me.
Mhm.
Let's connect. Let's
Yeah.
get some deals. Let's get a lot of you your first deals, and let's get a lot of you your second, third, fourth, fifth deals.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I told you many times, but I still want to say the word. I'm so happy I got this deal from you, and to make my investors so much money, and make me and my partner so much money. So this is truly a win-win situation.
Of course.
Cannot thank you enough.
Yeah. My pleasure. We'll do it again.
Yeah. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. So if you want to know how to underwrite a deal from a wholesaling perspective or from an end buyer perspective, just hit us up And then I'm still buying across the nation. As long as it doesn't snow, I buy, and I can
Awesome.
close pretty quickly because I have a significant fund I can deploy.
Mhm.
And George, amazing person, great brother. I learned so much from him. So that's a person you don't want to miss. So see you next time.